And we're back.
And never again is now. So Ann, before we wade back into the cesspool of DC politics, and let's talk just a little bit about Israel Appreciation Day and why you got involved, why it's so important, and just your perspective on the relationship, the unique and special relationship between Israel and the United States.
I hope, Ericka, that this segment is at least 2 to 3 hours long. because basically this is so near and dear to my heart. It is, being a Jewish person, I feel the closest of connections. But I have to say, having been president of the National Federation of Republican Women, where there are 65,000 fellow Republican women, most of them are not Jewish. And basically, this is of prime importance to my dear and wonderful Christian friends. Thank heavens for my Christian friends and family. The survival of Israel means nothing less than the survival of course, the Jews worldwide, our Judeo-Christian heritage, and Western civilization itself. When I was a little girl, I was brought up in the beach town of the Rockaways, which is in Queens, New York, the borough of Donald Trump, and I remember going to Hebrew school. Don't you? Oh, yes, absolutely. I passed by the hospital that his family had, actually built and supported, and they did so many wonderful things. Actually, it was when I saw Don Jr. a few years ago at a function, I said, "Do you know that we have so much to thank your grandpa for? He actually saved a temple that was going under in Queens." This is what big hearts that family has, because they didn't have to. They're not Jewish. They understood what it meant to the community and to their neighbors and friends. So my family had founded a temple back in the Rockaways called Temple Bethel. It's now 102, I believe, years old. And I remember going to Hebrew school, and we were learning about this state of Israel. And the books were so fresh and so new that when you open them, you could hear and you can feel the cracking of the binders. This is how young that state of Israel were. In the books were black and white photos of the Sabras, people actually born there, and the newcomers tilling the soil, working the land to make it truly the land of milk and honey, working side by side, creating deserts into lush gardens. The maps showed a little itsy bitsy nation, this little sliver of a nation that's about the size of New Jersey, right, Robert? About New Jersey,
right.
your home state. Can you imagine?
Exactly. And not only that, and Israel is a nation that has been surrounded by its enemies, sworn to its destruction since it came into existence. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's part of it. But the thing that for us with Israel Appreciation Day is it's everything else besides being a Jewish state and a U.S. ally that makes it so important, right? Human rights, women's rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. There's a reason that all the international press bureaus have their offices in Jerusalem, but they're not in Qatar, right? Because they don't have freedom of speech there. But look, I wanted to just get a quick from you on Israel Appreciation Day, because you've been so instrumental in getting us to this point and making that a reality for the country. And folks, please tune in September 18th. Just look for us on the web. We're everywhere at this point. I want to come back, if I can, to you're the past president of the National Federation of Republican Women. Women.
And
we now are going to have the second female candidate for president. I think Libby Dole ran for president, but she wasn't the nominee. You're going to have the first nominee, right? And I want your perspective of having what's your perspective on all of this? I mean, I know you don't see things through the lens of racial politics, but give us some perspective on that. And good, bad, or as they say, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess.
Well, I will be the first person, Ericka, I'm sure you too, to say we would be thrilled, obviously, to have a female president. I've been devoting decades of my life empowering women to attain higher offices. That's been my life's work. However, to have a woman for the sake of having a woman as a president, especially a Kamala, a Michelle, a Hillary, would destroy this country.
Yeah.
And I would love to have a female president. Look, I have 2 daughters and a son. I have 4 granddaughters and a grandson. Wouldn't that be wonderful to think that people can attain whatever they rightfully should attain? And I know firsthand how hard it is to be a woman in politics. As Robert said, I've been around for a while. When I was in Queens, I was threatened. I had my tires slashed. And in spite of that, I forged ahead and turned a massively Democratic area into a purple one because I was the first full female chair, and people did not like that. And the men would hold their meetings and smoking cigars in the men's room. And finally, I just walked in one day and said, "Can I have one too?" I mean, this is, so they had to accept me. Those are the days of a person named John Lindsay. I don't know if you remember him, Robert. John Lindsay, who was the mayor.
Of course, Mayor Lindsay. Sure.
Mayor Lindsay, and he kept on switching his parties. But I remember a TV reporter coming up to him in the 70s and saying, "John Lindsay, how come you don't have any women in your administration?" And he answered that women do their best jobs, and you can fill it at night, and you can use your imagine where and how. And this was allowed. We have a long way. So yes, would I love to have a female president, but this should be a job of merit.
Yeah.
This definitely should be a job of merit. And I do not see any woman nominee or presumptive nominee at this point who could possibly fill it. Kamala says Republicans, as Robert brought out, are a threat to quote unquote democracy. Meanwhile, she took over the candidacy for president with a coup. People had voted for
right, exactly.
How undemocratic are the Democrats?
Wait, it's not the Democrat Party. It's the autocrat party. Let's get it right. And I want credit for the new moniker. Just ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. It's certainly not your father's Democrat Party, as Ann pointed out. It's the autocrat party.
Yeah,
Ericka.
Yep. Well, and I appreciate what Ann said, because as a woman, right, I understand what my mom had to go through and what earlier generations had to go through. I don't have the same problems. I do not have the same barriers. People like Ann have paved the way for me. It is now my responsibility to pick up the mantle, but I am not going to vote for somebody because of their genitalia. I'm not going to vote for you because of the color of your skin or the nature of your genitalia or who you choose to have sex with. That is not presidential criteria. I mean, come on.
Especially someone like Kamala, what a shady track record as an attorney general. She's failed at every assignment she's been given. She didn't, when she became border czar, I love that term. Don't you just love that? We're living in Russia. She didn't visit the border for months, and she never has spoken with the border chief. She dropped out of a race before a single primary vote was cast. She is just dismal. She's dismal.
Yeah. She was anointed, not appointed. That's what I've heard people. Yep.
She dropped out because Tulsi Gabbard in the debate gutted her.
Oh yeah,
but if you remember the debate. But let's talk a little bit of policy here about the presumptive nominee, because I think the educational component is important here. 3 points about Kamala Harris. Right. Point number one is that she just came out, as I said in the monologue, with a speech today calling for gun control and outlawing what she calls assault rifles, which are AR-15, which any moron who knows about anything about rifles knows it's not really an assault rifle. Right. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, she has come out in favor of legalizing prostitution. I mean, and we've done shows here with, with Jacob Bouyens and others about human trafficking and sex trafficking. And let's call it what it is. It's the slave trade in the country and in the world. And yet she's coming out in favor of, because sex work is work too, or some nonsense. And the third thing that she's come out with, let me just get my notes, because I am one of those people who cheat and make notes before all of this. And then she's coming out, and in favor of those protesters, because, we have to understand how they feel. When the DNI just came out and said that not only is the Rockefeller Foundation and the Open Society funding these protests, guess who else they just disclosed that they determined is funding these protests? The Iranian government. Right. So talk to me a little bit about this, because I agree with you. we used to be a meritocracy. Now it's a question of, and I'm not, and by the way, Ericka, I'm really going to get in trouble here. Are you sure she's got that right genitalia? Maybe she's a minotaur or something.
Well, she also, dude, apparently she also was not born an American citizen. Apparently her parents, like, I hate to bring up the birther, conspiracy. Where's my tinfoil hat? But like, your parents weren't even American citizens when you were born. Is she even eligible to be president?
And by the way, her family in Jamaica was one of the largest slave traders in the history of Jamaica.
That I wasn't even aware of that one. So that's new.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not surprised. No, they're all about overturning the Constitution. You're absolutely right, Ericka. I mean, and people, unfortunately, and this is why this is so important too, people are not educated enough. They don't have the right courses anymore in schools.
Yeah.
The way we used to have them. People don't even know the Constitution. They don't know what why they should be protected. They want to overturn the Constitution under people like under Kamala. They will try to persuade the Congress to negate the filibuster. They're going to try to pack the Supreme Court. They are going to take away our guns. They're showing our allies won't defend them. I mean, how much more? And of course, they're decimating this country. I mean,
Gavin Newsom, I think, just recommended an amendment to the Constitution to ban guns, a right to be free from gun violence.
That's right.
I mean, these people do not care about the Constitution. They do not.
People don't know. It's like that whole thing with the feral hogs, feral pigs, I should say. And how do you control? How do you control people? And you use that analogy of, putting out some corn and a few of the pigs come in. And then after a few days, you put up on one side of the fence, and this goes on until the second side, the third side, and the fourth side of the fence are all built around these pigs. And all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, I'm enslaved. And this is what they're doing. They're giving away our country to people. I did it in fast motion this time. It usually takes me a little longer to do that. But they're giving away this country, and they're giving away our resources, and they're giving away our rights. And basically people are not aware. They're just not aware because and I don't blame people. I don't. People are busy. They have lives. They have emergencies. They have people whom they should be taking care of. But you know what? The way you really take care of each other is to know what's rightfully ours. And the fact that we are being invaded right now and we are being taken over. This is I think, Robert and Ericka, this is one of the most vital points in our American history. Really, absolutely.
Yep.
So Ann, are we at a tipping point? Is that where we are?
I believe we are. And you know what? I tell you, it's just like how I felt on October 7th. I spent years listening to my Hebrew school teachers who are Holocaust survivors. And yes, we knew it happened. And yes, we knew that, that people can be evil and all these things. But I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. And you read history, you learn from history, but you never think now it's happening. Now it is happening. And yes, we are at a tipping point, and we have to do everything we possibly can to make people realize we're there. We have arrived, and we have allowed this to happen through people like Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Really not Joe Biden, the people who are controlling Joe Biden, but basically his administration.
You raise an interesting question. Let me ask it this way.
Sure.
Clearly, Joe Biden is not running anything or making any decisions, and he hasn't been for quite some time. Who's running it? I mean, and I ask you that not because you have a crystal ball or you have, you inside knowledge, but you have a long career in DC. You have a feel for it. You're there. You're an insider. What's your sense of that? Because my attitude has been, and Ericka, you can jump in here, is that this is really the third term of Barack Obama unchanged, right? These are all the things that, since his name isn't on it, because I just saw the statement he put out when Joe Biden was going to, agree to step down, which, by the way, so Barack Obama's statement basically said about Joe Biden, Joe Biden wouldn't make this decision unless he believed it was right for America. It's a testament to Joe Biden's love of country and historic example of genuine public service where he got rich. I put that in there, not him. Once again, putting the interests of American people ahead of his own, that future generations of leaders will do well to follow. Yeah. I would like to put the American people's interest ahead of my own. And if you can give me $52 million from China and Ukraine and everything else. But my point in all of this, getting the cynicism aside, is Barack Obama is still the golden orator, right? He's the one, right?
Yeah.
Who's making decisions in the White House if it's not President Biden? What do you think?
I think you follow the money. It's as simple as that. You follow the money.
There you go.
We have been seeing, Trilateral Commission. It's been history. History has shown that there have been certain families and certain people who really are running not only the nation, but the globe. And this is a war, not just to eliminate the United States as we know it, but to make us a part of a global enterprise. So you have people like Soros, you have people like the Rockefellers and others who have massive amount of monies, and they just tempt people like Obama and Biden and the others just to do their bidding. And obviously, Kamala is part of this. She is part of the whole covert scheme to make sure that the people did not know what was happening with Joe Biden. As you mentioned before, Robert, that presidential debate was such a setup. It really was. Unbelievable.
It was like rope-a-dope, and Biden was the dope, unfortunately.
Yes, absolutely. And everybody fell for it, including his wife, because people are tempted. People tend to be very, very greedy, but and this is big money. But yes, the money is, you have to follow the money. You have to follow the money on this one.
So, Ericka, what's your take on this? Who's really running things?
Not me. That's what I know. I think honestly, it's hard to say because.
Come on! I'm not letting you off the hook that easy.
What they're leaking out of the White House is that basically Jill and Hunter Biden aren't letting anyone near the president. So I have to think it's got to be Jill. It's got to be Jill and his chief of staff, essentially.
Ron Klain.
Yeah, colluding to keep the information quiet and hidden from the public. That's my take.
All right, we're getting a high sign from Lord Benjamin that we ought to go to break. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with Ann Schockett, the past president of the National Federation of Republican Women, longtime Washington insider, sitting on the board of Save the Persecuted Christians, serves on the board of National Anti-Semitism Task Force. And by the way, if you look her up, there's about 12 other boards she's on. So she is heavily involved in trying to help America get back on its feet. And I want to thank you for joining us, for other people, and even more importantly, on a personal note, again, for being such an integral part of making Israel Appreciation Day the huge success it's going to be. Thank you for joining us, Ann.
And it truly is. It's been such a pleasure and so much fun, too, to be on this program. This is an important program, and I hope that you have so much more success in all your podcasts. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ericka, where can they find us before we go to break?
They can find us on all of the socials, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and we're also everywhere you can find your podcasts. So definitely check us out. And if you're in New Hampshire, you can even find us on the radio on Thursdays.
WNTK, 99.7 on the dial, Thursdays, 9 a.m. Be there.
Shout out to the New Hampshire Federation of Republican Women.
Shout out to the New Hampshire Federation of Republican Women.
That is right. They know how to put on a show, ladies and gentlemen. That is
I will tell you, just as an aside, I know Lord Benjamin will get to the break, I promise. Growing up in New Jersey, which is sort of Tammany Hall Redux, it's been so refreshing up here because the electorate in New Hampshire, whether you agree with them or not, is informed. And within that electorate, the chapter of National Federation of Republican Women are an active force.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't want to mess with them.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, After the break, make sure to come back for a little bit of Where's the Outrage?
WTO.